Hello guys, and welcome here to another edition of Out of Turn 4 here on Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. Today, coming up on the show, we're going to discuss NASCAR at Daytona. We're going to have a little bit of a silly season update. Yes, we can finally do that after about a month of not having much updates. And then, of course, we will make our picks for not only the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, but the races this weekend at Darlington. That's all coming your way, but of course first we start on a little bit of a sad note. Of course, the news broke right after our taping last week that Robin Miller, NBC's IndyCar reporter and Racer Magazine writer, has passed away at the age of 71. Of course, no one has been a bigger voice in the IndyCar series than Robin Miller. No one's been a bigger proponent for IndyCar than him. Him and Bob Jenkins, both one of a kind, and IndyCar will never have a voice like either of those two again. And it's depressing to say, but it's true. No one will ever replace those two. They were class acts. I mean, Robin Miller told it like it is. And let's face it, it's costed him some jobs in the past. He's also, again, he's made some bold statements, and he's definitely brought up some interesting points. And, it's hard to find someone that loved IndyCar so much that he was not afraid to tell the truth. And that goes across YouTube, that goes across Racer Magazine, anyone that covers motorsports. No one did it like Robin Miller. So rest in peace, Robin, and thoughts and prayers are with your family. And, of course, the family of Bob Jenkins as well. That's another huge loss in the world of motorsports that we didn't cover on here. But, man, two big losses in motorsports, and there will never be replacements for either of those two. That said, let's move right on to today's stories. Of course, Justin Haley is now a two-time winner at Daytona in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's won his second race there in a row. Of course, it would have been a three-peat, but of course he got screwed by the officials the one year, which he still insists he won that race. Just thought I'd throw that out there. It is Justin Haley's first win this season in what's been kind of a dismal season for the number 11 team. But of course, the hot run by Kaulig Racing just continues to add on here. Kaulig Racing now owns the points lead. The first time this season, the first time ever in Kaulig Racing's history, they have a driver leading the points, and it is A.J. Allmendinger. He has taken the points lead away from Austin Cindric, who's been involved in a few wrecks the last few weeks. And that leads me to question now, is Kaulig Racing the team to beat in the NASCAR Xfinity Series? And it's hard to say no to that one because, let's face it, Kaulig Racing has won a Cup race. They've won back-to-back Xfinity races. They've swept the stages at Daytona 1, 2, 3. They almost had a 1, 2, 3 finish in the final stage. Okay, there's nobody out there that's better than Kaulig Racing right now, and I dare you to find a team that is better than them right now. And don't even include the 54 team in that discussion because they've had different drivers all year. So exclude them from any conversation involving great teams right now. But essentially it's going to be hard to beat Kaulig Racing, and I think A.J. Allmendinger's leading the charge there. I mean, I'm hoping this is where Justin Haley turns the corner because, again, he's going to the Cup Series next year. And to me, he hasn't proven much yet in the way of does he belong in the Cup Series. So I think a win at a track that is not Daytona or Talladega would go a long way. Another Championship 4 appearance, I think that would go a long way as well. I think those two things could really prove to not only me, the race fans, and of course the sponsors, that he belongs there. And I've met Justin Haley. He's a nice guy, but again, he's still got a little bit more to prove, I think. So we'll see if he can do that in these final weeks of the NASCAR Xfinity Series season. Switching gears to Cup. Man, this guy is just having himself a season. Ryan Blaney, he picks up his 3rd win of the season. This is a career high for him. He is having a career year over at Penske this year, and he's been the bright spot in what's been quite a down year for the Ford teams as a whole. My apologies. So, of course, with that win, Ryan Blaney is now the number 2 seed in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, which were just determined this past Saturday. So, of course, now we know Keselowski's leaving. Keselowski has been the undisputed leader at Team Penske the last few years, and that leads to the question here as well. Is Ryan Blaney now the man at Penske? Because, let's face it, Joey Logano has been not quite Logano-esque the last few seasons. I don't want to say he's been terrible, but he just hasn't put up the results that we expect from Joey Logano. So I think right now Ryan Blaney is proving that he is the man at Penske right now. And again, he's having himself a career year, okay? This is what he wanted to see out of himself, and I think this is what Roger Penske wanted to see out of him, and he's getting it now. So, of course, so keep in mind last season a lot of people had him going deep into the playoffs, and unfortunately it didn't pan out that way. So I think he's going to have to prove, just like Justin Haley, he's going to have to prove a lot more this year. But of course, again, the playoff drivers have been determined, and it is Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, Eric Almirola, Tyler Reddick, and Kevin Harvick. That is all in the order of which they are seated. So again, those are the 16 drivers that make up the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. And with that, I think it's a good time to make my playoff predictions here. Of course, sorry, I don't have any graphics behind me or on your screen here. We're doing this on the fly again this week. But basically, I'm going to tell you, I have 4 favorites right now that could make the championship 4, and I don't necessarily dispute it right now. And I'll explain why in a moment. Kyle Larson is one of those drivers that I see making the championship 4. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney. That's who I think will make the championship 4. Again, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney. Those are my picks. And the reason why is it's not going to be hard for Chase to survive the first round. It's not going to be difficult for him. That leads to the second round at the Charlotte Roval. He's won the last 2 at the Charlotte Roval. I don't want to say it's a shoo-in win for him, but of course it's a race that he is very capable of winning. And then of course you go to Martinsville, another track Chase Elliott's been pretty good at. You know, you've also got Kansas and Texas in there, but if he's going to lock in, it's going to be at Martinsville. And I just think Chase's best chance there is at that track. But of course, he's had a lot of issues this season passing Tech. He's had a lot of issues, you know, with consistency. That's going to be a bit of an issue, I think. So again, Chase might just be the final driver that locks himself in. That's my thought. Kyle Larson, I don't think it'll be any trouble for the number 5 team. They've been so strong this season. Kyle Larson has been on the big FU tour this whole year. It's kind of hard to find a driver that's been so consistent like Kyle Larson has been all year. Same with Denny Hamlin, just based on the fact he might not win a race leading up to it. It's possible that he might not win a race up till that point. If he's going to win, I think this weekend's his best chance at it. But of course, I'll make my picks in a few minutes here. But again, I think just on the fact that Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, I think they're automatic locks. I think the debatable last two are Chase Elliott and this guy, Ryan Blaney. I think Ryan Blaney gets into the championship four. He's been, again, he's hitting his stride at the right point in the season. You can say, well, the caution came out and gave him the win at Daytona. You're not wrong, but he was way out in front anyway. He was by far the dominant car in that last stage. You know, he played the right strategy. You know, and then, of course, Michigan, he did very well down there. He won it racing on the bottom line, which no one wanted to take. Okay? The point is he's making the right strategies at the right time. And that's where I think Todd Gordon proves that he's a great crew chief. And I think this proves to be a great combination. Of course, we know Ryan Blaney's going to have a new crew chief next year. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And then, of course, as far as the first four out, I don't see any dispute here. One of these might be a huge dispute. But I got Michael McDowell, Eric Almirola out first. I just don't think Eric Almirola's been consistent enough. Michael McDowell, it has nothing to do with his consistency. It's just this team... Let's face it, if they're not on a super speedway, they're not that good. I hope he does make it to the next round because, you know, it's hard to not like someone like Michael McDowell. So, again, I hope he gets further than the first round, but it's just, I don't see it, honestly. Then, of course, I got, you know, I got Brad Keselowski. This is the debatable one. But again, I just haven't seen enough out of Keselowski this year. And then, of course, Christopher Bell, I see going out early as well. Again, those two kind of having some consistency issues. And I think, you know, they're debatable to be out in the first round. But they're who I have out early. We'll see what happens. Now, as far as my spoilers go, guys who I think could be a surprise in this playoffs. I think Kurt Busch tops that list. Keep in mind, Kurt Busch surprised everybody making the round of 8. He had no business being in the round of 8, and he made it in. So, that said, and of course, Ganassi's going to want to go out with a bang. So, that's where I believe Kurt Busch is the guy who could play spoiler. And believe it or not, and you may be shocked to hear that I even listed this guy as a spoiler because he's been up front in the points all year. But William Byron I have listed as a spoiler for the season here. Again, he's been still, despite winning a race at Homestead, despite running up in the points, he's still the 4th driver over at Hendrick Motorsports. You can argue that with me all you want. Alex Bowman has proven he's the clear-cut number 3 driver over there right now. Chase Elliott is only number 1 because he's the defending champ. You know, but he's going to be overtaken by Larson if Larson wins this title. So I'm just going to point that out right now. But again, Kurt Busch, William Byron, I think could make some noise in this playoffs. So we'll have to wait and see. That's the best I can give you. That we'll just wait and see. Moving on now. Oh, let me get a drink here. Sorry, folks, long day. So, with that, let's move on to the silly season. And, of course, a big announcement today. And these two stories, not quite a surprise. We're going to start out with the NTT IndyCar Series. Romain Grosjean is on the move. Of course, he moved from Formula 1, came over to race with Rick Ware Racing and Dale Coyne Racing this past season. He has been lights out. He's been really good on these road courses. And guess what? Hard work pays off because Romain Grosjean is going, allegedly, full-time racing in 2022. He will be racing with Andretti Autosport, driving that number 28. In other words, Ryan Hunter-Reay has been given the boot, as many have expected. Of course, again, a projected full-time deal for Romain Grosjean. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was going to put together a graphic with my top 5 free agents. I'm not going to lie to you here. I was really going to put together a graphic for my top 5 free agents because I think in no particular order, Simon Pagenaud, obviously still a free agent. Then, of course, we've got Romain Grosjean. We've got Rinus VeeKay, who's up in the air. Then, of course, you got Kyle Kirkwood from the Indy Lights series. And then, of course, you've got... you probably got Marcus Ericsson in there, too, because nothing's been confirmed about Marcus Ericsson yet. So those 5, in no particular order, are probably your top 5 free agents here. Again, I'll repeat them. Romain Grosjean, Simon Pagenaud, Marcus Ericsson, Kyle Kirkwood, and Rinus VeeKay. Those in no particular order, so don't fight me on this. In no particular order, those 5 are the top free agents. I don't have Hunter Ray in there. Actually, maybe I should add Hunter Ray in there over VeeKay. So let's erase VeeKay and let's put Hunter Ray in there just because he's won an Indy 500 and he's won a championship before. So that's why I'm going to throw him in there instead. So let me stand corrected. But with that, of course, again, Hunter Ray is gone. I imagine he will go to Dale Coyne Racing, maybe drive that 51 next season. I could see that being a possibility. Maybe it's the 18 with Vassar and Sullivan. Either way, I think both rides have secure sponsorship. I can't see why Nurtec would not want to return to the IndyCar series after what's been a very successful season with Romain Grosjean. Then, of course, as far as Ericsson, I expect him to return to Ganassi. He'll probably drive the 8 again. Then, of course, you've got, oh my gosh, Simon Pagenaud. I know it's been rumored that he's going to go to replace Jack Harvey in the number 60 with Myron Shank. I imagine he'll be in that ride next season. Kyle Kirkwood, I imagine, will drive the 29 for Harding and Steinbrenner next year. I wouldn't be shocked there just because, again, I think he's staying at Andretti. Something just leans me toward the fact he's going to stay with Andretti. Of course, his competitor in the Indy Lights Championship right now, I imagine he will be at Ed Carpenter Racing, but that's aside the point. That's besides the point. And then, of course, you know, it's so hard to predict top free agents, but I figure those, again, that top 5, I imagine, will be the ones to get the big rides next season. We're still waiting on word from Takuma Sato. I imagine that Andretti is out of the picture. I imagine he's now staying put in that number 30 unless he decides to retire. Again, it's so hard to pick 5 free agents. You can list your top free agents below in the comments. And of course, maybe we'll discuss them next show. I would like to put together a silly season special. I might do so next week if I have the time. And of course, it'll air. Well, check out our social media. It'll air if I have time to do it. We'll tell you on there when it's projected to air. Now moving on to the NASCAR side of things, because we're going to cut it real close on time today. Kurt Busch, the guy who I said without a doubt is one of the top free agents in NASCAR right now, he has signed a deal to drive for Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan at 2311 Racing, and he will drive the number 45 car in 2022. And of course, he is doing so with Kyle Petty's blessing. Keep in mind, I know, listen, hear me out here. Of course, we all know Michael Jordan's second number in his career was number 45, which is when he came back from baseball, came out of retirement, he had to wear 45. We know that. But of course, the 45 in NASCAR is significant for other reasons. Not because of Michael Jordan, but because of the late Adam Petty. Of course, the son of Richard Petty. Richard Petty has honored his son by driving his number for the latter stages of his career. And of course, he always wears that number 45 hat whenever he gets a chance to. But, you know, always paying tribute to his son. Kyle Petty has essentially given his blessing to drive the 45 next year for Kurt Busch. And I think that's significant in the fact of, again, you know, legacy. I know Adam Petty didn't have a legacy really in the Cup Series. But, you know, we're always left with that what could have been. We're always going to be left with that. What could have been. But, you know, I think it's significant because, again, it's one of the legendary numbers in the sport, much like 43, much like number 3, 24, and now 48. Okay? Those are numbers, okay? Look, you know, this is NASCAR. We're not retiring jersey numbers. But I will say it's an honor to drive any car with a significant number. Much like it's a significant honor to wear someone's jersey number. So, that said, I'm happy to see it. I wonder if Kurt Busch will run an Adam Petty throwback. We'll see, of course. I know Monster Energy has not usually been a fan of throwback schemes, so we'll see. I wouldn't hold your breath on it. But I think it's due diligence and due process to allow that to happen. Also included in that Kurt Busch announcement. Real quick, before I move ahead. Of course, with Kurt Busch going to 2311, I believe this also brings a veteran presence, which I had mentioned in my top 5 free agents. This brings stability to a team like 2311. It brings a steady veteran that can help this team grow. Of course, this season has not been the best season. It's not been the best debut season for 2311. But, again, it also helps Bubba Wallace, who, in a way, needs a veteran presence. I mean, look at what Kurt Busch has done for Ross Chastain this year. I think Ross Chastain has grown so much as a driver this year. And I think he's proven that he can race in top rides thanks to the help of teammate Kurt Busch. I'm not saying Bubba will endure the same thing, but I'm saying that it can certainly improve his stats, and not to mention improve his driving ability. So again, the results will remain to be seen, but without a doubt, I think it'll show progress. I think that's the big word there, is progress. So again, we'll see what happens. But again, I have high hopes next season for 2311 racing. And of course, on that note, we move ahead with the announcement from 2311 Racing. NASCAR has announced that the numbers on the sides of the NASCAR Cup Series cars will move forward toward the front tires starting in 2022. I know a lot of fans are upset about it. I'm not happy about it either. I know Dale Jr. probably isn't happy about it. He's been a vocal opponent to the number changes. That said, I agree that the numbers should have stayed the same because it's not really going to lure any new sponsors. I really don't see how it would. necessarily. If they're not on the hood of a car already, what makes you think they're going to be on the side of a car? Just my honest feedback there. My honest and brief feedback. So again, I think just this is kind of an iffy decision that I don't think is going to pay off necessarily. That's my honest thoughts there. But moving ahead now, we'll make our predictions for the upcoming weekend at Darlington. Let's start with the Truck Series. I've got John Hunter Nemechek as the winner of the truck race at Darlington. In the NASCAR Xfinity Series, I think it's going to be Denny Hamlin, just on the fact of he's driving the 54. All good things are going to have to come to an end for Colleague sooner or later, and if it's going to happen at the hands of Denny Hamlin and or Joe Gibbs Racing at some point. So Denny Hamlin's my pick in the Xfinity Series. In the Cup Series, I know I had Kevin Harvick not really on the radar, but I think this weekend it changes things. Now, I think Denny Hamlin's got the best shot at winning this race, but because I don't want to pick the same driver to win two races, I'm going with Kevin Harvick. I believe he's won a few times on Labor Day weekend, and to be honest, he's long overdue. I think it's time for him to reach victory lane, and I think he will do so this weekend. So those are my picks, and we want to thank you for watching. Once again, share your comments below on anything you've heard in the show, maybe any news that might have broke that you want me to talk about racing-wise. And of course, we will be back for Out of Turn 4 next Tuesday with the recap of the first Jello Cup Series playoff race, so you won't want to miss that. And hopefully some more silly season updates. So until then, guys, goodbye, everyone.